So what's going on, guys? It's Jamie, it's speedboxing. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel before you click onto any of the videos. Also comment below in the comment section if you guys have any opinions of what I'm saying in any of the videos. Like always, it's appreciated if you guys could drop me a quick sub or two on my channel. So we had the first press conference between Chris Eubank Jr. and George Groves for their WBA super middleweight title fight on February the 17th at the Manchester Arena. This is part of the World Boxing Super Series. It's the semi-final. George Groves, obviously the defending champion, against Eubank, who is the challenger. And this is a very highly anticipated fight in the UK. Like, tickets sold out within 10 minutes, and the press conference was very interesting and very entertaining. Obviously, you had the Eubanks in typical Eubank fashion, giving it the talk, and you had George Groves and his team, Shane McGuigan, giving it back, like his trainer, Shane McGuigan, giving it back and stuff like that. You had Eubank Jr. Saying that George Groves has average speed and average stamina, and he hasn't got a very good defense, but he did give him props for his punching power, saying that he does have good power and stuff like that. And you had George Groves saying that Chris Eubank Jr. hasn't fought anyone like him before, and not to underestimate him, and that he's never fought anyone at the highest level before and stuff like that. And Eubank was saying that Groves isn't the same fighter anymore. You had Eubank Sr. taking a dig at Shane McGuigan, saying that Shane McGuigan was never a professional fighter, so how can he prepare George Groves like he can prepare Eubank Jr. for a fight when he hasn't got that professional fighter mentality. Shane McGuigan, if people know, was a very good amateur boxer, but obviously couldn't turn professional because he had a lot of injuries. But at the end of the day, you can be a great trainer without having a professional fight. Like, look at Emmanuel Stewart, for example. He was a fantastic amateur fighter, but he didn't turn professional because he decided to get work instead to help his family out financially. And then years later, he became a trainer and became one of the best trainers to ever live. So at the end of the day, it doesn't always take someone who's been a professional fighter to train body. Like, I thought that was a very ludicrous comment by Chris Eubank Jr. But he says stuff like this. That's just what he thinks. So it is what it is at the end of the day. A lot of people are saying that Eubank Jr. is underestimating George Groves. I don't think he's underestimating him. I think that he knows that George Groves is a good fighter, but I think he thinks that he's faded a little bit. I think he thinks this is the right time to fight George Groves. You know what I mean? So this could be very smart by Eubank Jr. He has sparred with George Groves in the past, and what I've heard, he came away from that spar very confident that he'll be able to beat George Groves, and that he held his own in that spar, and it was very competitive. So it'll be very interesting to see how this fight pans out. You got George Groves, who does hit very hard, so it'll be interesting to see if he can hurt Chris Eubank Jr. Because if he hurts Chris Eubank Jr., I think that'll be a shock to Eubank's system. I really do. I don't think, like, I think he knows that George Groves has power, but I don't think he thinks that George Groves will be able to get to him in terms of landing a big power shot. But if George Groves does, and it hurts him, or it drops him or something, then I think that could be a very big shock to his system, and then the fight could turn into George Groves' favour. But I think if he doesn't manage to hurt him, then George Groves could be in trouble in the fight, because then Eubank Jr. late on in the fight could decide to come forward and really put it on George Groves, because he knows George Groves tends to fade later in fights. For the first 6 or 7 rounds, he might be caught. George Groves might be up after 6 or 7 rounds, but then Chris Eubank Jr. might decide to put it on George Groves and try and get him out of there late. But I think it could backfire on him at the same time if Eubank Jr. does that, because he tried to do that against Billy Joe Saunders. But in that fight, it was a matter of him freezing. Like, I thought he froze for the first 6 or 7 rounds of that fight, and then he decided to come back. Like, he woke up in the 6th or 7th round and started to really put it on Billy Joe Saunders, but he couldn't get to Billy Joe Saunders, and Billy Joe Saunders managed to win a very close decision against him. So I think Eubank Jr. for the first 6 or 7 rounds, you know what I mean, he might have to be a bit cautious, but at the same time be competitive with George Groves and not be losing too many rounds. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this fight on February the 17th. I think it could be a very good fight between two top-level fighters. You got George Groves, who has faded a career, but is still a world champion and has still had some good wins ever since his loss to Badu Jack a couple of years back. And you've got Eubank Jr., who a lot of people think is in the peak of his career right now and is going places and is going to be the next star in British boxing, and he is looking very good, Eubank Jr. Like, I really do like watching Eubank Jr. fight. I think he's very entertaining. And say what you want about him outside of the ring, what he does with his dad and what he says and stuff like that, and how he carries himself. But in terms of when he gets into the ring, he is a very entertaining fighter. And at the end of the day, controversy sells, and that's what him and his dad are doing. You know what I mean? They're saying outlandish things, and people are reacting to it, and people are tuning in, and people are watching them fight. That's why they've got this deal with ITV and stuff like that. Like, these guys are trying to think out of the box, and so far it seems to be a steady path for them. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting, this fight. I'm looking forward to it. Comment below in the comment section. It's JM, it's speedboxing.